How's it going, y'all? This is Shay with the Social Freedom Tribe. I want to do a quick video on how we're not actually going to get the lesson that we need to learn for our ideas to work until we actually start. And this is just something I'm just like learning a lot, where I took 6 months to, I did a workshop on healing social anxiety games, and then I took 6 months of just like really getting into the creative process of like, okay, like ironing out the details, like what do I want to bring. And after 6 months, I finally had my second workshop, and which ended in so many lessons that I needed to learn. And like through that, so I was like, okay, it was very clear to me what the next step was. And it was rough and stuff like that. And that's okay. Like everybody's like, cool, like this is a great idea. I see what you're trying to bring. It's okay that it was rough. And like I had a clear idea of what the lesson was, how to take the next steps and go into the next one. So then it took about a week, and so I just did it every single Wednesday. And after a week, okay, I learned the lesson, I learned what I need to learn. I took the next step, did the next workshop with the lessons learned, and there was yet another lesson staring me in the face that I couldn't have known unless I started. And so then the next week, I was like, okay, I need to... So I brought something of flow, like how to get into a flow state, like going into that. And what I learned was that certain people just didn't have the creative mindset to be able to like tap into that. And they were more like rules-based, like what am I supposed to do? Kind of like, okay, find out what I'm supposed to do, kind of safely follow that. And so it's like, okay, how do I tap people into this creative flow where it's like, what is possible? And so my next one was like creative mindset, so what is possible, stuff like that. And then the lesson staring at me in the face with that is when people are yawning, they're small body language, they come into it just really tired, or they had a long day, and you're trying to bring them through some like creative process when they don't actually have the bodily energy for that. Then you're not, like you can take a bored person, a bored, tired, depressed person with anxiety through a fun task, and they won't necessarily make them have fun. You have to like, they have to be in an energetic state first and then go into it. Jamie Wheal and Stephen Kotler talk about the brain body as a user interface rather than an operating system, meaning that like you can change your body language and change certain things so that you have the energy, and then you can go into the creative mindsets and stuff like that. So that's like the next lesson that was staring at me in the face, and that's like the thing I'm going to bring next. But what I really wanted to talk about with this video was that I learned more in just through bringing what I brought and then like going through it than in the whole 6 months of constantly studying and like doing different things. So there's this whole like perfectionism thing that is basically, it's a pretty word for saying somebody like is just that, for defining somebody that has anxiety about starting. And you just won't learn the lessons until you start. You need feedback. You need to like go through something, learn the lessons that are your blind spots and you wouldn't have known about until you started, and like have them stare at your, like hit you in the face, like cool. But like there's all these perfectionist people that are like, okay, I have this idea, but I have to like know everything first before I start. And there's like a degree of like, yeah, you should be ready and shouldn't just like jump in, I guess. But realize that what ends up happening is when you're preparing, and this has happened to me, when you're preparing, the more you prepare, the more you have questions and the more you think that you need to spend more time preparing. So like there's a way that you're stressing yourself out, like researching this thing, and at a certain point you got to realize that you're stressed out. You've been learning and you've been focusing on getting prepared, and now you're in a stressed mindset, and you just like, you're coping and you need it to work. And that's where this fear of starting comes in, because what if it doesn't work? What if I'm not prepared enough? Oh, I need to prepare more, which stresses you out more, makes you feel like you need to prepare even more, and like gives you less ability to start. So there needs to be some kind of balance. Like realize that when you're feeling into your body, when you're preparing, you're like, oh, I feel more stress, and it's like I feel more fear of starting. You got to take time to like relax, de-stress, being like, I'm ready, like good body language, like I'm ready for this, I'm ready. Get some energy in there, like spend time meditating, feeling good, or whatever you do to feel good, and just start. And like people, to be honest, when people give you feedback of like that was shit or that was amazing, it doesn't necessarily actually reflect on how amazing what you had was. It more reflects the person giving the advice or giving the feedback. Some people are just going to always give negative feedback, and they're going to find the faults in it even if there are no faults. And they're just going to constantly give negative feedback. And if you're avoiding starting because you're wanting those people to like, I can't find anything negative to say, like it's not going to happen. They'll even put a spin on a positive thing that you have and like say like it's actually a negative. Like, I have this energy, I'm not talking like this. But there's like really meditative people that are like, no, you should talk like this, and you shouldn't have that energy. It's ungrounded, and it's really interesting. So it's like really like people are going to hit you with negative feedback no matter what you bring. They'll even like spin a positive thing into a negative thing, and it just like takes a start. Like, and like you'll get positive feedback no matter what too, because there's also the positive people that are just like always finding the positive in everything, and they're like, you're great. Like, if anything, you just started, and with every entrepreneurial venture, there's like what, like 60 to 80% of people that just don't start. Out of all of the ideas that fail, it's because 60 to 80, somewhere between that, percent of people just don't even start. So at least you're beating them. You're better than average if you at least start. And when you start, that lesson will just hit you, and you'll have like the next thing to like go towards. And also when you're following your excitement and your creativity, you're finding people to help you, and you're like on a more efficient path than if you just like, I have to be perfect, I have to know everything first. The know everything first people also just they're disattached from what reality actually is. So they're like doing all this theorizing, but like really they're it's like, here's reality and here's them, and like there's a way that like they've experienced a certain amount of reality to know to like go this far, but then they keep walking like theoretically and not actually knowing that if they're following reality or not, while reality's like taking all these twists and turns. Meaning, when we start theorizing and when we start like learning research, if we're not actually like out there experimenting in real life, then we don't actually know if what we're bringing is actually true to reality or not. And you can see this a lot because it's like we have so much confidence in our theories and stuff like that, but actually when we bring into reality, that's when we get hit, and it's like, oh, actually meditation is not the answer to everything. I know that happened, like I was like, meditation is the answer to everything, and then I go out into reality with all this like meditation experience, and then I'm like, oh, there's actually other ways of having awareness. Like I was just like mostly like, have awareness like of everything that's going on. I could have awareness of what's going on to the person I'm talking to and all these things, and it's like, oh, actually, no matter how much I meditate, there's still gonna be things I'm unaware of unless I'm actually like reading books about like how the brain works, how like socializing works, and like being out there in reality and getting hit with like things that I just didn't see coming. So it's like we have to ground ourselves in reality by bringing our theories and our ideas out into reality. So like first like researching, preparing, stuff like that, it's great, but then actually like spending time getting ready emotionally. So that's another way of preparing, is preparing ourselves emotionally, because if we're just researching and stuff like that, we're just feeling the stress and we're feeling fear, and we have to prepare ourselves emotionally to jump in. If we like start meditating, stuff like that, we feel good in our body, we open up our body language, and we get some testosterone in some kind of way, maybe like a cold shower or something like that. There's like so many ways of doing this that when we're out there, we're like, okay, I'm ready for this. And we go into it and we test our reality or our sense of reality with reality, and then we get hit with the lessons that we need to bring out. So like this whole perfectionist mindset is really a very inefficient way of handling life, because we actually need that whole hitting in the face with the lesson that we need. So I understand if it's like you have this idea and it's like, no, I've been preparing for 5 years, I need to prepare more. But like the way to prepare is to jump in, and the way to prepare to jump in is to like take care of our emotional selves first. So I get it. I don't want to overwhelm people like, okay, jump in, and like they're feeling all this stress and they jump in. I want people to like take the time to actually like de-stress and feel good about jumping in and do it from a really grounded, a ready place emotionally, not just theoretically and like I know what to do now and I know exactly all the steps, because it's just like you're never gonna know everything. You're gonna get hit by things that you just never saw coming. So you need to be emotionally ready for that, and you need to be like in the creative mindset of like, oh, I don't know everything and I'm never going to be perfect. I hope that helps, and I hope whatever you're trying to bring with your infinite creativity, I hope you just go for it and like don't let people shoot you down, because it's really just more a reflection on them than you. Love you guys. Peace.